Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate everybody taking a couple of minutes out of their day to learn about a really awesome and super exciting partnership that we are launching from our Blyth Academy Burlington campus in partnership with Spectrum Airways. We're here tonight. I myself am Jennifer Kwong. I'm the regional principal of Blyth Academy, overseeing a few of our different campuses, as well as partnership agreements and different and unique opportunities for our students to participate in. And I'm joined tonight with Brian and Cody, both instructors from Spectrum. We'll get them to introduce themselves. Brian, Cody?
Yeah, I'm Brian Houston, one of the instructors at Spectrum Airways and main ground school coordinator. I've been an instructor at Spectrum for 3 years now, and quite excited about what we're trying to launch here.
Cody?
Hey everyone, and I'm Cody Moynes, and I'm also an instructor at Spectrum. Brian and myself have been working on this course over the last year or so, putting it all together, ground school, and all the immersive training we'll be doing. I've been with Spectrum since 2018, and yeah, we're really excited to try and get this going.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll probably need about, 20 minutes, half an hour of your time, and we'll end with some questions. But if you think of questions along the way, please feel free to use the chat function located in your right. If you just want to place your questions in the chat function, our moderator will make sure that we get all those questions at the end. So I'm going to start off just telling you a little bit about our Blyth Academy Burlington campus and why it's an amazing place to learn. So Blyth Academy Burlington operates from grades 5 to 12. We're located in the heart of downtown Burlington in the Pearl Street Village Square. Our average class size is between 8 and 16. We usually round out about 10 per class in Burlington. And we offer individualized and experiential learning opportunities. So in any situation where you're in a class of 10, we really pride ourselves on the fact that our teachers know our students, they know their strengths, their weaknesses, and they spend time with each learner making sure that we maximize their academic expectations and help them to meet their goals. We run a very unique timetable, which we'll get into shortly. But it allows us really well to couple our programming and our unique scheduling and flexibility options with a program like Spectrum to run in the afternoon in a way that we can allow students to get all of their credits for graduation while doing something that they're super passionate about and learning a great deal about aviation at the same time. So Blyth operates on a 4-term structure. We have term 1 runs from September to November, then term 2, then term 3, then term 4. Oh, we have a monkey. Okay, we don't have a monkey. So each term, similar to what you've seen in the quadmesters and all the public systems in and around Halton this year, each student takes 2 classes at once. The big difference is that our students come to campus for their 2 classes. Each class runs about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Meaning that the academic portion of your high school day is pretty much wrapped up around 1 o'clock. Well, what are you going to do from 1 o'clock until all your friends get out of school? We're going to send you over to Spectrum so that you can fly planes and learn about engines and do a whole bunch of other cool things that no one else is going to get to do. And so we've allowed this quadmester 2-course system to really lay out with the benefits of what you're learning in ground school. Brian and I have worked really closely together over the last little while to try to piece together a timetable so that our students are taking courses in a predetermined sequential order, which will benefit their success through ground school and the fundamental learnings. Brian, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, in order to be successful as a pilot candidate, you don't have to be a super in-depth physicist or geography, but a basic understanding of all of those things will benefit. And in the lead up, Jennifer and I have been talking about what courses you should take in advance of taking ground school, but then when you're taking ground school, that also then enhances and fits with the academic learning that you're doing as well for high school credits towards your high school diploma.
Awesome. Next slide, Courtney. And I'm going to let Brian and Cody now take you through a little bit about Spectrum. so that you have a little bit more detail into what actual ground school and flight training looks like.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, so Spectrum Airways is in the north of Burlington, so it's about 15 to 20 minute drive from the Burlington campus of Blyth. At Spectrum, we have 2 runways. We have an active instrument approach into our airport. We're uncontrolled, which is really nice. It allows us to get up in the air efficiently to maximize the time that we have with our students, so we're not waiting on controllers to get us up in the air and requesting clearances and all that kind of stuff. We have a maintenance facility on site, Kovacic Aircraft Services, as you can see in the picture in front of us here. Our maintenance crews maintain our aircraft on an ongoing basis, so this allows us to make sure that our aircraft are safe to fly and they are online as often as possible. We don't have very long downtimes for our aircraft when they need to get their inspections done. We offer multiple different courses. Obviously the PPL and CPL, so the private license and the commercial licenses, again, in that sequential order to get to become a commercial pilot. But we also offer all the ratings that you'd want to have on your resume if you're going to be applying for an airline job down the road. So things that include night ratings, instrument ratings, multi-engine instrument ratings, all those kinds of things. Again, you want to have in your repertoire, in your toolbox, to be able to apply and be eligible for regional airline jobs once you have that minimum amount of hours that's required for them to kind of take you on as one of their first officers. So leading into the first course that we have, like I said, in sequential order, if you're looking to become a pilot in taking the career path, the first step in licensing would be earning the PPL. So as you can see there on this boarding pass, the section is PPL part-time. So what our program is going to allow us to do, being a full year program, is that in September, in your 3rd period, you'd be getting picked up from Blyth, and you'd be coming down to Spectrum Airways. And what we'd be doing is we'd be, depending on the weather, be working towards the requirements that you need for a private license. And so we're going to make sure that we cover all the documentation and basic steps we need to get done, whether it includes the P-STAR, the radio operator certificate, all of the ground school hours in preparation for your written exam for the private license, and then of course all of the flight training that would go along with that. And so having the ability to bring the Blyth students down in the afternoons and have essentially, generally speaking, we'd only be using or be spending about 2 hours with the students. But of course, for flights that might take a little bit longer, we have that flexibility to extend into the evening, especially when the sun's up a little bit longer in the spring and the summer. And depending on the weather on an ongoing basis, because we will have, of course, winter coming in and around, I guess, late November, we're going to get a little bit of winter weather that'll kind of slow down the flight training side of our program. But with the flexibility that we have, we can spend that time on the ground and get through our ground school hours and all the subjects that are required to prepare for the written exam. So again, this kind of program is only able to be done with a school like Blyth that has the flexibility to bring students down, for their 3rd period. And again, like Jennifer was mentioning, the hours that you spend with us, flight training and earning your license, are also counting towards your Ontario Secondary School diploma. So it's kind of a win-win on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, and you'll notice here that this boarding pass says grade 11. That's the ultimate goal for our program, is that students can join us for grade 11 for their PPL, and you'll see next grade 12s for their CPL. But next year, in our first year of launching this program, grade 12 students are also more than welcome to join in the PPL program, because it's a new program and we haven't gotten that 2-year rotation yet. So just want to make sure if there's any grade 12s out there tonight, that it just doesn't mean you can't do it. You can definitely still be a part of the PPL flight training. Cody, I'll let you finish now with the second part.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so like Jennifer's saying, this course is, the PPL portion of the course is open to grade 11 and 12 students. Obviously, as we get the program going, we'd like to, section it off where grade 11 students would be doing the PPL course so that they could do the CPL course in their 12th grade and be able to get the commercial license by the time they get their diploma at the end of the school year. The CPL course, what we need for that is, of course, the prerequisite would be the private license. You couldn't start working on your commercial license without completing that first. And what that might require is if you were a grade 11 student completing the course, over the summer, you'd be working with Spectrum directly in order to make sure that we're building your hours up to a sufficient level that we can proceed to start working on your commercial pilot requirements over the course of your grade 12 year. So what we're doing is very similar to the private course in terms of the outline. Flexibility will allow us to differentiate what we're going to do on each day. If it's a poor weather day, we'll do ground school. If it's a good weather day, we'll go up and fly, and we'll make sure we're knocking off all of the requirements as we go throughout the course of the year. Brian, anything to add on in terms of requirements that might be different or included in the CPL?
No, the only thing would be the ground school requirement is double what it is for the PPL. So we're going to be spending an awful lot more time going into a lot more depth in the understanding of aviation and the physics of flight and how we fly in the CPL one. So it is a much more advanced course.
Yeah. Yeah, and to that point, the CPL course, the requirement for a commercial pilot does require a lot more of solo PIC time. So the student being a pilot already coming into their grade 12 year, they will spend a lot of time actually flying solo on their own and practicing a lot of the maneuvers and techniques that they've been taught over the course of the grade 11 and 12 years. And building that time up on their own under the supervision of Spectrum instructors to meet those requirements. So we have a lot of immersive little add-on and additional teaching that we're providing in both terms for this course, in both the PPL and CPL. Again, considering you're with us, 5 days a week for at least 2 hours a day, you're going to get a lot more immersive training and a greater understanding of all the concepts that you're going to have to apply at a commercial standard once you get into the airline. So our goal is to get our students and start working them towards a CPL standard even from the start of grade 12. We want to try and make sure that we're setting a good foundation in our grade 11 year so that the grade 12 year is, again, just sharpening the saw and making sure that our students are comfortable in the plane and ready to take the opportunities that come once they are all licensed up as commercial pilots.
So this just goes back to coupling with why we felt like this was a good partnership. So Blyth's period 1 class runs from 8:30 to 10:45. We start period 2 at 10:55 to 1:10. We'll be looking at transferring our Spectrum students out of class around 1:05. Still be leaving a little bit early from period 2 possibly to catch that bus to get up to Spectrum. And then you'll be there with them from the time that you arrive, 1:15, 1:20 to 3:30 in the afternoon, actually. Between 2:30 and 3:30. I guess that depends on weather. It depends on where you're slated for your flight. And things like that. We do have to be a little bit of flexibility with the sun and the weather, like Cody and Brian were just speaking about earlier.
Yeah, something to add on to that. Again, part of this program is the transportation that we're going to be providing will be able to accommodate those changes in time. Again, based on the weather, based on the length of lessons that we need to do. We'll ensure that we have transportation available to take our students back to Blyth, where they're going to be staying for the course of their school year.
Yeah, awesome. And so just a little bit about fees. So from a Blyth Academy standpoint, We've partnered with Spectrum, and so the way that fees are aligned are just two separate kind of silos of fees. Our tuition for a full-time high school student next year at Blyth is $18,700, and that's full-time tuition, 8 courses from September to June. And then the tuition on the Spectrum side is $46,135 for your PPL and $47,085 for your CPL. For what you get for your tuition on the academic side are similar to those things I highlighted earlier. Small class sizes, teachers that really care, pretty good electives, the option to just really excel in your academics through multiple forms of assessment. Again, 10 kids in a classroom, you're going to really know your material. We're also laying out your material in a way that's going to benefit your success through ground school and through flight training. And then Cody or Brian, you want to talk a little bit about what those fees get you on the Spectrum side?
Yeah, so for the PPL and CPL courses, the main thing that we're really trying to focus on here, and if anyone has any knowledge of the training that goes on for pilots, sometimes what happens is if you're doing a self-paced course or you're trying to get your license on your own, finding aircraft and finding instructors can be a very tough thing to do, especially if you want to immerse yourself and make sure that you're getting your training done efficiently. If you were to be doing a training course for a license on your own time, you'd have to be scheduling your instructor, finding an instructor who's available, finding an aircraft that's available, and again, with maintenance not being easily available at most other schools, or if you're renting your own plane, block time, something like that, it can be quite tough. And what ends up happening is that you end up spending a lot more money reviewing subjects that you otherwise have done maybe a week or two before because you haven't been able to get in an aircraft. So what we've done is we've put together a fleet of aircraft that will be set aside every day, Monday to Friday, for the time period that the Blyth students will be coming over. We've been setting aside an instructor for each student to be able to fly with. And of course, the cost of transportation to and from Blyth, all included, ground school supplies, all included, all of the ground school hours, and of course, all of the hours in the aircraft are included in this as well. And the hours that we guarantee for the PPL course is, I believe it's 70, it might be 75, I'd have to double check. And for the CPL course, it is 100. So say, for example, if you as a student were going through the PPL course and you were spot on and you were getting all of your, getting all your flight maneuvers mastered and you finished at 65 hours and you were able to do the flight test, you still have 10 hours as a part of your course that are credited to you to be able to fly with Spectrum over the summer or, in your off time if you wanted to come to Spectrum after school and do an extra flight just on your own. For the CPL course, same kind of concept applies. 100 hours are guaranteed. Transportation to and from the school, aircraft is set aside for you for those times that you'll be coming over from Blyth. And again, if you finish early and are able to do the flight test early and you still want to build those hours are credited to you that you have not yet used. And again, we do this because hours are essentially the currency in flight training. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to have as many hours as possible because sometimes it comes down to in a job interview who has more hours, and we want to make sure that you're getting all of the hours that you've had with us, even if you were able to fulfill the flight training standards and able to do the test a little bit early. So those hours are still yours, and you can use them outside of school as you need.
Awesome.
Okay, as you can see on this slide, the history of Spectrum has been very successful at placing pilot graduates into key positions in a number of different airlines. This is just a small sampling. There are a whole bunch of others around the world. So we feel that our school is a very, very good training ground for pathway to aviation. One of the things that Cody talked about earlier was that we're at an uncontrolled airport and we can get into the air quickly and we can start training quickly. But one of the things I would also like to point out is we're right next to the busiest airport in Canada, which means that once we get in the air, we can go into a control zone anytime we want to, or terminal control area, and we can continue working those advanced skills as well. However, for this slide, we might as well talk about the elephant in the room, and that's COVID and what's happening with the airline industry right now. Because as everybody knows, most of the airlines are currently on their knees begging for mercy. Well, at the same time, if you've been following the news, you can see that people are still taking every opportunity they can to travel. We have snowbirds down in the United States all winter. We have people in the United States traveling around. We have airlines already saying that they're going to be short of pilots just in the very short term. Most of the articles that I've seen recently talking about what the pilot situation looks like in the next 4, 5, 6 years say that there is likely going to be a worldwide shortage somewhere between 30 and 50,000 airline pilots. That's a large number that has to be filled. And if you think about somebody starting right now, you're probably in that time frame. By the time you go through year 1, you're getting your PPL. Year 2, you're getting your CPL. Then you've got a bunch of ratings to get. You're probably going to maybe pick up an instructor rating, maybe teach that next class of Blyth students that's going to come through yourself. To build the time that you need to get into one of these higher end airline jobs, you're probably 3 or 4 years away realistically. And that's the time frame that people are saying we probably have a huge shortage. So this is an exciting time to get into training and to be in training, because it's entirely likely that when you're ready for that right seat in an airliner, it's going to be empty and it's going to be in the air.
Awesome. And so that really concludes the bulk of what we wanted to present today. Just wanted to give everybody a little bit of an understanding of how we have planned and really worked out how to couple high academic success with amazing flight training and a pathway into aviation and commercial piloting. Our contact information is below. You're welcome to check out more about Blyth Academy and Spectrum Airways at the 2 websites listed below. You can phone our admissions department at either one of those contact numbers. And you can also send any emails to admissions@blytheducation.com. If you send an email to that, it's filtered through our admissions department and it goes to myself or to Cody or Brian, where we'll be following up in a more personalized approach to be able to take you through your specific needs and your specific questions. Hopefully post lockdown, shutdown, gray area, white area, we'll be able to get people in for days in the life of experiences at the Blyth campus where you can come in and spend a day with us. And Spectrum also offers the discovery flight option. So for a small fee, you can actually go up to Spectrum and fly for half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour with one of their instructors and see if this is for you. Testing be told, though, most people that go up for that discovery flight do come back down and say that this is for them, and they're ready to sign on the dotted line. So we really do hope that ceasing the lockdown, we can offer both the day in the life experience for you to visit our campus and see the academics, as well as the discovery flight option to really get into Spectrum and sit in one of their aircrafts. So all of that's on the table come May and June and into the summer months. This current course for next year, we are looking at accepting, it is a small number of openings that exist. There will be 6 openings. So we are hoping that if you are interested to have applications in hand by the beginning of June so that our panel can review those applicants and pick our 6 candidates to move forward into our first year of training. That number is determined by the available aircraft. And then pending the interest in this program moving forward, we can add to that number in sequential years. But for the fall of 2021, we are looking at 6 possible students into the Blyth Spectrum program. And so I do see, do we have any questions? Courtney, was there any questions through the chat box this evening?
Yeah, I'll read out some questions. So the first one is from Jonathan. Will this program qualify for RESP funds usage?
So I don't know what that exact answer is. I know in lots of provinces, there's a lot of people going to bat for the use of RESP funds. That would come down to Spectrum's certification as a trade school. Do you guys know the answer to that offhand? Or we can most definitely look into it and get back to Jonathan.
Yeah, I think that's something that we'll have to talk with our admissions department again, as Brian and myself being instructors. I think we've looked into OSAP before. I know that was something that we looked into. I'm not entirely sure how RESP funds could be used, but again, Jonathan, we can get back to you with that with our general manager or one of our student administrators and get that answer to you.
Yeah, that's a great question though.
Yeah, I'll take note of that. And I feel a bit like Wizard of Oz here without my camera on, but hello, my name is Courtney and I work in admissions. I know from Blyth Academy standpoint, in the past, we've looked into this and the CRA usually looks at post-secondary for RESP usage. So yeah, from Blyth, we're a secondary school, but we'll definitely follow up with what Spectrum qualifies as and we'll get back to you. Thanks for a great question. Next question we have is, will students be flying with the same instructors every flight?
Ooh, another good question. Cody, Brian?
You want me to handle that one, Cody?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we usually try to pair our students with at least one instructor as their primary. The instructor-student relationship is exactly that. It is a relationship. It functions as long as the relationship is functioning well. We also always like to have a secondary instructor because sometimes your primary instructor is just not available. Maybe they're sick, maybe it's a day off, maybe whatever. We would see running this program very, very similar, but at the same time, or similarly rather, but at the same time, what I do want to do is on occasion rotate the instructors and the students around a little bit, just so that the students do get a little bit of experience flying with somebody else, getting a little bit different perspective on some of the exercises. Sometimes when somebody else comes into a conversation and says the same thing in just a little bit different way, it clicks for a student in a way that it wasn't before. So primarily the answer is yes, mostly with the same instructor with some variety thrown in.
Awesome.
Excellent. So the last question I see here, and if people are still typing away their questions, I won't miss you, but right now, will there be any assignments outside of flight training and studying for the license?
So what we have right now in terms of assignments, there will be assignments for practice. A lot of them will be as a part of the ground school. Things like flight planning, weight and balance calculations. Those will be things that will be essentially assigned as homework and then will be reviewed in the class as a whole. So there might be a flight plan that Brian or myself will assign, a week in advance. And then you'd bring that flight plan into class the following week, and then we would review, the decision-making process that you made as a pilot to choose your routing, choose your altitude, all that kind of stuff. On top of that, we will have ongoing quizzes that go along with the ground school, and little checkpoints along the way, midterms and things like that, to kind of gauge your understanding and make sure that we're fixing any weak areas as we go through the process of meeting those ground school hours requirements so that you're prepared for the subsequent written exam and of course the ground portion of your flight test.
It's also important to note that every time you're coming up on a new flight lesson, we will be expecting you to have reviewed the material for that flight lesson in advance as well. In fact, that's probably going to be the first question that you're going to hear when you show up at school the following day. Did you read the material? Because it's going to make the lesson an awful lot more effective.
Good point.
Awesome.
There's one more question that came in.
Great.
Okay, so will there be any specific, Will there be anything specific that Blyth or Spectrum are looking for on applications for the program?
So from a Blyth standpoint, I can talk a little bit about that. From a Blyth standpoint, we run mostly academic level courses with some applied in college level, but mostly only in the math and the science, or math and the Englishes. So we do require someone who has the academic capability to maintain that kind of academics, which would also lay to better success with ground school material as well. And other than that, really we're looking for passion is what I was going to say. Like, we really want someone who is just really into this because they love flying, because this is something that they feel passionate about or they feel driven to do. And they're going to see this through. We're looking for the ambassadors of our program. So you will be the first group, you will be the trailblazers. And so we're really looking for people that can work as advocates and work as ambassadors moving forward, people that have really strong commitment levels and the ability to support us in the years after they graduate, like maybe as instructors, like was mentioned earlier. Cody, Brian, anything specific you'll be looking for?
Yeah, the main thing, as you said, Jennifer, is passion. Why do you want to do this? What is drawing you into aviation? One of the things that we commonly say is learning to fly an airplane is actually not that hard. Becoming a pilot actually takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of commitment. And there's a big difference between just flying an airplane and being a pilot. It's about decision making. It's about research. It's about understanding. And it does take a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of study. And we're looking to hear from you. Why is this important for you? What is it that you want to accomplish with an aviation career? That's what we want to know. Where is that passion?
Mm-hmm. Cody, anything to add?
No, I was going to say the exact same thing, essentially just echoing your words, echoing Brian's words. Other than that, if you can express that to us, then you're right for this course.
Yeah, awesome.
Great. Another really great question came in. What is the biggest benefit of training in high school versus after high school?
So I would say from my perspective, and you guys probably have a totally different perspective, is this is something that you can accomplish well in high school. This is something you can do so that when you get out of high school, you are just one step farther along in that hour building, like Brian spoke about earlier, than someone who completed high school and then started their training post high school. It is the number of hours that you have that gets you to a different type of aircraft, and then it's those types of aircraft that get you to those commercial pilot positions with those airlines, if that's your direction. So this really just allows you to kind of get a jump start on your peers while completing school. It's very similar to the school within a school or the trades programs that you'll see at the school, at the public schools. You get to do something that you really engage, that you're passionate about, to help couple yourself with high school graduation and just be a little bit farther down that road. Brian, Cody?
Yeah, no, I think, one of the key things about this course is that you're not only getting your pilot's license, but you got to remember that you are also fulfilling that requirement as a high school student in order to get the amount of credits you need for your diploma. So you're getting both of those at the same time instead of taking gym class and earning credits that may not really benefit you down the road. Not to say that exercise isn't important. I do advocate for that, but this course again is going to get you just that much more further ahead in your training and in your hour building and building that experience, because like I said, hours are the currency in the aviation world, and at the end of the day, as an 18-year-old commercial pilot with 200 plus hours, you're light years ahead of somebody who's starting flight training, day one when they turn their, 18, getting out of high school. So experience is king in aviation, and the faster that you can start building your experience and building those hours is going to help you a lot in the end. And not only just getting your first job, because again, you're getting your commercial license by the end of your grade 12 year, you're now eligible for pilot jobs that are opening up, whether it's flight instructing, if you get your instructor rating, or if it's, flying, fishing, or whatever you want to do for a summer job. You are now a commercial pilot, and those job opportunities and continued hour building that you can get from being, that kind of qualified pilot at that young of an age is something that, I wish that I was able to do when I was a kid growing up. And I've seen high school students who didn't have access to this program, who flew on weekends. One of them, who's an instructor with us right now, he's 18 years old. And he has more hours than I do. It's because he started when he was 16, and he's been flying, every weekend. And then as soon as he finished high school this past year, he's flying with us every single day, and he hops on Zoom for a couple hours a day for his courses at McMaster, and then he's back to work again. He's building hours every single day. So that's something that is invaluable, and this course really highlights gets the best out of your time as a high school student, allowing you to be able to do this and also earn credits towards your diploma at the same time.
Yeah, and I think too, like doing a course like this where you can get some co-op hours, maybe you can get an independently developed course hours towards your OSSD, like Cody was just speaking about. Also, if you got to grade 12 and you finished your PPL and you're like, oh, maybe I want to go to university, just like Cody just said, you can still do all of that while flying on the weekends and gaining those hours. No one can take away from you the credits and the certificates and the achievements that you've accomplished before you completed high school. It'll always be an ace in your back pocket, and you can continue on and still go to university or college and dabble in whatever other courses you want. No one's going to take away the fact that you can fly. And you can continue building those hours on weekends and evenings or whatever works for you. It just opens more doors.
That's excellent. And I just wanted to mention 3 other attendees asked the same question in different ways. So I think you guys did a great job answering that. The main benefit being that accelerated program.
Awesome.
There's no more new questions at this point.
Awesome. Well, we really are thankful for everybody that joined us this evening. It takes some time out of your day, and you logged in and you spent some time with us. We hope that you learned something. And again, all the contact information required is below. Please reach out. We'd be more than happy, any of us, to speak to you one-on-one to talk in more detail about you yourself, your son, your daughter, and any specific questions or needs you might have. And we look forward to seeing some applications in the near future.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.